So there is a part in the Liyue Archon quest where we are introduced to Zhongli, and then we leave Child behind to the horror of having to learn to use chopsticks. And we leave the restaurant with Zhongli, and then he proceeds to ask us which we prefer more, Liyue or Mondstadt. And a lot of people immediately feel pressured with this question because they don't want to hurt his feelings. And so many people just straight up said Liyue, whether they believed it or not. And I just want to explain why I did not. So I chose Mondstadt because just by that point in the quest, it was so much better. Um, Mind you, we haven't even gotten to the point in the Liyue Archon quest where we're fetch questing the whole time. We haven't even gotten to that point. That point would be enough for me to choose Mondstadt already, but that's not even where we're at in the story yet. No, 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 no. We are at a point where Rex Lapis has just died, supposedly, and everything's gone to shit. We've had more time in Mondstadt than we have in Liyue, and just in what's happened thus far in Liyue, we've already had a better time in Mondstadt. At this point in the story, we have already done Act 1. Act 1 involves us coming to Liyue Harbor for the first time, marveling over the sights, talking to some people, going up to where the rite of descension is supposed to happen, talking to some more people, witnessing the rite, witnessing the supposed death of the dragon thing that descends from the sky, and then ending up being hounded by the Millilith and accused of murder, and then saved by Child, of all people, and then he tells us to go to Drayun Karst to get the ear of the Adepti before the Millilith do, so that we can tell our side of events first, right? So then we have to go all the way over there and talk to people using the sigil of permission that Child just conveniently has on his person, and relay what has happened, and then come back to Liyue Harbor to tell him about it. So then we meet him at the bank, and then he takes us, I don't know, was it dinner? Seemed really early in the day, so maybe it was lunch, because Child is fucking Zhongli's wallet. So we meet Zhongli, we're put into contact, we're going to help him do the rite of parting, or whatever the fuck it's called, so Rex Lapis can move on in peace, because Zhongli works for the funeral parlor and therefore has access to the corpse. So it's like, okay, this is where we're at in the story. This is where the story is currently at. So even just by this standard, like, choosing Mondstadt should not be a shock for anybody. Like, really, let's be real. So I chose Mondstadt not because I liked the Archon quests particularly much or anything. I thought Mondstadt was interesting. I liked the sights, the music, the quest was good, the character interactions were good, like all that stuff. But my reason for saying Mondstadt was purely out of spite, because first impressions are very important in order to form relationships of any kind, and deadass, the first thing we do when we get to Liyue Harbor is talk to people. We gotta ask some questions. And why is it that when we first step into Liyue Harbor, we're clocked as foreigners immediately, and then have to hear about the people and their made up beef with Mondstadt and the Animal Archon? Like, I was so annoyed immediately. I'm like, I'm not talking about them. I want to know about Liyue. I want to know about Rex Lapis, and I want to know about the Rite of Descension. Why the fuck are you ranting about the absentee Archon and the way things are done over there? Bitch, we're not talking about Mondstadt right now. We're talking about Liyue. So, purely out of spite, just on those few interactions before the Rite of Descension, I already did not like Liyue. Already didn't. And then the Millilith, like, blaming random civilians nearby despite the fact that, Rex Lapis is a god, and that should not be something that people without visions can do. Like, I didn't like that either. But it was mostly out of spite, because why is it we get to Mondstadt, literally, we get to Mondstadt, and the only person who's like super truly like rude at the start was Amber, and even then she has a legitimate reason, because there's a lot of shit going on and they kinda are at their limits from all angles. But she immediately apologizes, reframes her wording, and then offers to help find the traveler's sibling, to the point that she plastered missing person posters all over the city in the most random of places in case anybody hadn't seen them yet. Like, we get to Mondstadt, and despite like somewhat hesitance, no one was rude, no one was mean, no one was insulting the other nations to tout Mondstadt as the superior nation. Like, it was all pretty chill. That's why a lot of people equate Natlin and Mondstadt these days as like the kindest and most open nations to the traveler, because the traveler is not in any way considered a criminal or a potential criminal or a potential lawbreaker or rule breaker or whatever upon entering the country. They are recognized by the Archon immediately, and guess what? The Archon doesn't have a problem with them. And like, that was nice. Like, everyone is just like nice in Natlin. They're welcoming. The nation of war that has this horrible reputation of violence and tragedy. But everyone is so welcoming and understanding and kind, and they treat visitors well. And the traveler's experience in Natlin echoes the experience in Mondstadt, where they're not immediately accused of performing crimes and then become a wanted individual at some point, and then they have to defend themselves from the Archon's behavior or the people acting in the Archon's stead, like. So when I think back on Mondstadt now, after doing Natlin's Archon quest and witnessing the traveler's experience, and I'm like, yeah, I still stand by that statement, even if at the time I was making it out of spite of how the Liyue NPCs were annoying the hell out of me. It's subjectively just true. At that point in the story, Mondstadt is just better than Liyue, and no offense, but Liyue doesn't really like improve a lot. Also, Zhongli does not specifically seem to enjoy when you say you prefer Mondstadt better. He's like, oh, you're that kind of person. Like, he's clearly not happy, but sorry, bro, the people of your country have already been incredibly shitty to me. I ain't picking your country. Sorry.